Breaking news. Tinubu and Atiku should not contest the 2027 election.
Yes.
They should stay at home. They are too old to be Nigerian president. This coming from Baba Ahmed.
Yes.
It's on the Vanguard newspaper. You are from the north, Mr. Paul.
Yes.
What do you have to say about the 2027 election? Do you think that Tinubu should not contest with Atiku? That they are too old to rule Nigeria? But if you are watching for the first time, click the like button, on notifications, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and then share this video with others. Mr. Paul from Plateau State, yes. What do you have to say about this news?
Thank you very much. What Baba said is actually right. He's 100% right for them to stay. But I think sometimes when it comes to leadership, it's not about age. It's not about how old you are. It's about the wisdom that you carry. So this Tinubu, for me, right from the beginning, he's a person that I do not see wisdom in him. Even as of the time they used to tell me that he is a governor who accumulates wealth for himself. As a governor, he's richer than Lagos State. Then I now said to myself, for me, he's not a kind of a person that deserves to be a president, because that's exactly what he will do. He will amass wealth for himself, for his, and that is not going to be a progress for the country. So for me, what is going to make Mr. Tinubu to stay aside, which I know he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that because his heart is full of pride. His heart is full of all that he wants, that what he wants to do. But this is the clear message that I want to pass on to Mr. President. No matter what he's going to do, 2027 is not for him. It's not for him. They will look for him 2027. They will say Tinubu is nowhere to be found. How comes he's nowhere to be found? Because it's matter as I'm talking to you right now. God is not happy with the APC leaders, and for that reason, judgment has been passed on to them. APC leaders, they will fall in mass. They will not agree with what I will say, but time shall tell, and everybody should mark my words. Mark my word, APC, 95% of them, they are not coming back to power. They will continue to go back to APC, continue to decamp to APC. Let them continue to decamp. They are going in a road that seems like is leading them to a safety zone, but they are leading to a destination that all of them, there will be nowhere to be found. You are
from the northern part of Nigeria, the middle belt, Plateau State to be precise. But then, you did support Buhari in 2015, supported Jonathan, supported Atiku 2019, and then you now went to Igbo land to support Peter Obi instead of Atiku or Tinubu. Looking back at your decision now, do you regret supporting Peter Obi?
No, I will never regret supporting a person that has always have a competent mind. Look at Peter Obi. He's a man that has a heart like my own. He doesn't want power at the detriment of any Nigerian. He's not desperate for power. That is what leadership is all about. Leadership is not all about you wake up one night and you say you must be a leader. No. Leadership is all about, I have seen how my people are suffering and I want to bring a transparency. I want to bring change. It's a person that is able to see the life of a people, how they are suffering, and say, I want to make something better for them. And this is a man who has the ideology. When he was telling the people, industrialize this country, instead of consumption, you need to go and produce food. You need to go and go back to agriculture. That's what he has been crying to the people. And if they had wisdom and knowledge inside of them, they will say, this guy is already telling us what we can do to tackle the insufficiency that is in this country. In terms of we need food, and food is expensive, and people are finding it difficult to see food to eat. But they did not use that idea because their own ideology is different. Their own ideology is that let us just amass wealth for ourselves and leave the masses to continue to root in their problems. That's exactly what the present regime is doing. But Peter Obi, I know that every word that he will bring out this time around, let him never give up that somebody is going to steal his mandate. Nobody will steal his mandate. That is my message to him. Let him never think that there is anything that will take away his mandate. Let him never even think that Tinubu has the power to steal the mandate. Despite the fact that Tinubu was not in power, but he used other means to steal his power. But let him never think that is going to happen. Let him never think. Thank you very much.
I'm looking at the fact that there may be, you are from Plateau State, there may be a state of emergency in Benue and in one other states, Zamfara, where there are killings. Do you support state of emergency being declared by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in those states? Because we see state of emergency in Rivers State, even though nobody died, but it was an explosion. Do you want to see state of emergency so that the military will go back there and they maybe pursue those criminals? That's and they are going to restore peace. What do you want to see?
Thank you very much. When they declare state of emergency, the next thing that they're supposed to do that they should fish out the people, the bad eggs. You don't just declare state of emergency without bringing out the bad eggs. You declare state of emergency and you go after the bad eggs. But we all know that in this country, they will declare state of emergency. Instead of fishing out the bad eggs, they will go and they will be terrorizing the innocent citizens. So that kind of a state of emergency, we don't want it. We don't need it. We need a state of emergency that has to do with transparency, that has to do with equity and justice. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. And for so many decades, these people, they have been playing with our mind. They have been playing with our integrity. They have been playing with our freedom. But this time around, I am here to speak boldly and loudly to tell them that APC government is going to fall woefully. They will fall woefully. That's what is going to happen with the APC government, and they should know. Any attempt to say they will come back to power by any means, let them know that they are trying to say God is not in existence and God cannot do anything, and God will prove them that they are all liars. God will prove them, because this government belongs to God, and God allowed this government to be ruled by people. But the people that had been ruling the government are evil. They are pure evil. So because of their evilness, God has seen it for himself, and God is not happy with this evil. So now a decree has been passed concerning the leadership of Nigeria and Africa. They must know that their evil will surely come to an end, even though for them this is not going to be. That's according to their carnality thinking that this evil will continue. They will continue to cheat on us. They will continue to suffer us. They will continue to make us to feel inhumanity. But this pure evil, God say, we will enjoy, we will chop, we will belly full. The next government is not going to be APC. Let them do whatever they are going to do. That's what Almighty God has already spoken, and I have listened to it. I have grabbed it, and I'm happy with it, and I will celebrate it, and I'm eating just as he's given. See, my life in Lagos, let me tell you, I came to Lagos. I don't know anybody in Lagos. All the way from Jos to Lagos, I came to Lagos. I said, God, I'm in your hand. People that cheated me in Jos, they think that God is not going to help my life. But my life in Lagos, God has been feeding me.
Now let's talk about this is about the feeding too. President have told Nigerians that yet I know that there's sufferings, there's insecurity, there's poverty, but I am working hard to make Nigeria a better place.
It's a lie.
But Tinubu said that. Do you believe him that
it's a lie.
Nigeria can get better than this government?
Let me tell you, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, this is a fact, pure truth, which you will agree with me or don't agree with me. Ahmed Bola Tinubu will never give anybody any good life in this country. He will only embezzle and embezzle and embezzle. That's what he's going to do. He will continue to steal. He will never give anybody any better life. Because he knows, number one, he is not the person that won election. If you do not win election, how will you give somebody a better life? So he cannot even give anybody a better life. He can just tell us life. See, let me tell you, any good leadership that enter power, let me tell you, in 2 months, the life of the people will be better. In fact, the day he enter, people will feel the impact. The day he enter office, so the day that Tinubu enter office, that's the beginning of suffering, which he has begun to suffer the people of Nigeria. The first day he enter office, the first day he increased price of oil. I was busy telling people in my office that I didn't like that. But because some of them, they are Yoruba, they say, no. I say, okay, you are supporting him because of your tribe. Okay, time is coming. But now all of them, they are agreeing with me. Why are they agreeing with me? It's because a good leader is supposed to lessen the burden of the people. You are not supposed to, we have burden on us and you later put another burden on us. That is not a leadership. A leadership is a person who will lessen the burden of the people, and which Ahmed Bola Tinubu cannot do that. So Peter Obi must listen to this. I'm not saying this because I need anything from Peter Obi. I'm not saying this, but I'm telling Peter Obi that his mandate will.
Funny enough, Peter Obi does not even give shishi. He says he's a very stingy man. So Peter Obi will not give anything.
I like him. I like him to be stingy because Peter Obi wants people to understand that when you have freedom, you will have money. When you have freedom, you have money. And what is freedom? Freedom is for you to get a leadership that will listen to your voice. When you tell him that, oh, Mr. President, things is not going well, he will now listen to you, and he will now send people, and he will now say, go and tackle that area. That is the leadership, and life will be beautiful.
So are you saying that President Bola Tinubu is not a listener? Like people are saying that Jonathan was a listener, but why he does not listen? How about President Bola Tinubu?
Thank you. You see, Ahmed Bola Tinubu and Buhari, they are bed of the same feather. Bed of the same feather. That's who they are. If you see Goodluck Jonathan, and if you see Goodluck Jonathan, you see Adua, you see Peter Obi, these are bed of the same feather. They do not want power by all means. They believe that power comes to you when God wants you to be in power. Okay. So that's what it is. Okay.
Video is how shameless and problematic Nigeria is at this point. I first of all know you would want me to mind my business and talk about my own country, Ghana. But listen, I don't really care about what you think. And if you haven't checked in my videos, I talk more about my country than any other on this platform. But at this point, it's not just silly and problematic how miserable Nigeria is. It's becoming for all of West Africa. And if you feel agitated already for my choice of words, wait and hear the rest of all I have to say. Let's get into it. Nigeria's population is a national security threat to every neighboring and West African country. As of March this year, Nigeria's population is more than half the total population of West African countries. More than half. This means on any given day, the influx of Nigerian citizens to any West African country will easily swallow up the entire local population. This is why every country in West Africa needs to have a say in what goes on in Nigeria, on the backdrop of the fact that they like to travel, ladies and gentlemen. They like to move, and they are moving in numbers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, two major situations are making Nigeria look scary to the rest of Africa, especially the neighboring West African countries. And I said two major things. But first, let's put aside the lack of stable electricity and inflation for now. Those are regular problems everywhere that every country in Africa has to deal with. However, the two worrisome situations brewing in Nigeria, which threatens the sovereignty of other African countries, has to do with the religious extremism and poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to again hold back on the insults for now, and also put down your biased glasses and hear me out for a minute before you come in. Are you aware of the number of Islamist jihadist groups operational in Nigeria as of 2025? Let me give you the list, ladies and gentlemen. It started in the year 2000 with Boko Haram, whose aim is to establish an Islamic state in Nigeria. Then the first splinter group from Boko Haram, called Ansaru, was formed in 2012. After Ansaru came the next splinter group called Islamic State West Africa Province, aka ISWAP, which started in 2016. Darul Salam also came in from the Niger Delta, and then the multiple Fulani militant groups came in. Just when we thought these groups were too many to handle for one country, then we hear of a group originally from Mali and also operational in Niger moving in to Nigeria. They are called Lakurawa. The situation appears to get worse by the days, from one bad jihadist group to a worse group. Ladies and gentlemen, is Nigeria becoming, or already become, the main breeding ground for all terrorist groups in Africa? What's going on here? When other countries are thinking of ways to create conducive environment to entice foreign investment, Nigeria is rather enticing terror. Let me ask you this. What conditions are making the northern part of Nigeria so enticing to these groups in the first place? Because this is where almost all of them are situated. Every day I read the news in Nigeria, I get terrified. Every time. Because the spillover of these groups will directly enter all the nearby countries. These are countries in West Africa. This may include the sprinter groups moving to other countries, or the citizens of Nigeria abandoning their own homeland for another. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a serious issue that needs immediate continental concern. Nigeria is a friend of Ghana. Nigeria is a part of ECOWAS. When they are moving into your country, we cannot turn them away. But when 1 million moves in at one time, what then becomes the fate of the host nation's security, sovereignty, and economy? And this can happen on any given day, ladies and gentlemen. And what actually terrifies me is this: I don't see any real political actions or steps taken by the leadership of the country to deal with the situation. You don't hear of the presidency talk about strategies. You don't hear of governors talk plans, and senators the same. Where are the marches, ladies and gentlemen, and the demonstrations on the streets to force the hand of the government to face it head on? Where are they? It's like the fate of the people in this country is in individuals' hands. Those with the resources may hire armed officers for their personal security, and those who don't have to live carefully and away from certain hotspots. Ladies and gentlemen, is this the best Nigeria can do in their own country? Day in, day out, all we hear is kidnapping, robbery on buses and even on trains, village killings, and so on. Is this ever going to change in Nigeria in the nearest possible time? Nigeria currently ranks 10 on every type of crime list in the world. Talk about cybercrime, organized crime, financial crimes, and extremism. You will find them on the top 10 list of all of them. What type of society are you building? On the criminality index on ocindex.net, you are 6th out of 193 countries, 2nd out of African countries, and number 1 in West Africa. You are ranked 19th among the least peaceful countries in the world, and nothing shows it bothers you, especially they that hold power in the country. Omanaja, what's up? When you finally get the chance to vote for a president who may bring a difference to the country, you reject it. You vote the same type of leadership in every election, and the problems continues. Why won't you try change? Why can't the people try what Ghana did? You come out in your numbers, you create your own coalition centers, you protect the ballot boxes at all costs, and ensure a free and fair elections for once in your lifetime. Because if you as a regular Nigerian don't like what's going on in your home country, you have to do something about it. Ladies and gentlemen, that cannot be done by anyone else but yourselves, unless it benefits you. What's the ultimate goal here? When you have chosen democracy as your system of governance, and it's only making life a living hell for the majority of the people, what is the plan, ladies and gentlemen? This is disturbing. Now, on to the second situation that is of equal concern as the first. This is about the level of poverty in Nigeria. You have more than 40% of your total population living below the global poverty line of $2.15 per day. That's more than 100 million people, ladies and gentlemen. That's a national security crisis. To have more than 100 million people who don't spend up to 3,300 naira in a day is problematic for the state's economy and for the people themselves. And here is how. The 3,300 naira per day will include your transport fare in and out to work if you have one, or to school, your breakfast, your lunch, your supper for one person. And so when that's not possible for more than 100 million people, then there isn't much these 100 million people are doing to contribute to the economy of the local state. People must work, produce, buy, pay taxes, and all of that, which runs the local economy. And that explains why countries whose citizens spend more do better than countries which citizens spends less. This is economic fact. Economic activities thrives off of demand and supply, buying and selling. And so when purchasing power drops, supply power is affected. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to that is the low rate at which Nigeria's economy is growing. With the kind of population you have and expected to have in the next 10 years, your economy cannot survive on a single digit economic growth in a fiscal year. Currently in Nigeria, your country is growing on an average rate of 3.4%. 3.4%. That's super slow for your size. You need to move that thing to more than 10% per annum and sustain it over a decade to meet the surge ahead. Your country's population is projected to hit 290 million in the next 10 years, and that's adding at least 50 million more people to what you have now. So the pace you are running will have to change immediately. From 2020 to 2023, the average unemployment rate was over 39% of the capable workforce until last year, when the new administration by Tinubu had to revise the method for calculating to reduce it to now 5.3%. Whether that is accurate or not, the reality of the people hasn't changed, and that's a huge problem. Ghana and every other country for that matter have our own problems to deal with, but at least not with the numbers Nigeria comes with. The very fact that these two situations I've just described has a direct impact on all neighboring countries is what has triggered me to do this video, because the rise and success of Nigeria is in the interest of all African countries. In the same way, the fall and demise of Nigeria is detrimental to all African countries, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, whether it offends your pride as a successful Nigerian who doesn't like your country being talked about in a negative light or not, that's not only up to them or you to determine what others may say, because once there is a problem in your country, everyone will feel the impact. Just like it said, when Nigeria sneezes,